Item number 5 is our consent calendar. We have a motion for that.
I'll make a motion for the consent calendar, to
Is there a-
approve the consent calendar.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? All right, we'll vote.
Mrs. Troop,
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed,
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid,
Aye.
Mr. Riley.
Aye.
Item number 6, consideration and vote to approve or not approve the following items. 6.1, consideration of vote to approve or not approve the following district finance reports. 6.2 is consideration of and vote to approve or not approve the application for participant in the 2017 Summer Food Service Program for Children. 6.3, consider,
We need to do those separately.
Okay, we do?
6-1,
okay, then we go back to 6.1, sorry. I need a motion on 6.1. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion's been made, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? We'll vote.
Mr. Riley.
Aye.
Mrs. Troop,
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed,
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid.
Aye. 6.2, consideration of vote or approve or not approve the application for participation in the 2017 Summer Food Service Program for Children. Need a motion?
I'll go ahead and motion it.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Jeff, is this impacted by the potential from the YMCA, the numbers?
They haven't been meeting with us for the past 2 years.
Okay, they've been going to Lutheran, haven't they? Okay. So there's no plan for them to go to the public schools? Okay,
Well, we haven't heard it.
yeah.
Any other discussion? Then we'll vote.
Mrs. Troop,
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed,
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid,
Aye.
Mr. Riley.
Aye.
6.3, consideration of and vote to approve or not approve an increase in full-price student lunches for 2017-18 school year. Any discussion?
Isn't this the one that we're mandated to do this? Okay.
Yes.
If there's no other discussion, then we'll need a motion.
Move to approve 6.3.
I'll second it.
Second, all right. Then we'll vote.
David, before we do that, Jeff, before we vote, would you come up and just talk briefly to the board about the new requirement we have as to the rules that we have to develop for students who are not able to pay for their lunches?
We have,
Or
I stand here,
choose
that would
not
be
to.
disrespectful to you guys, but.
Yeah.
We have a new USDA rule that requires us to develop a policy for what they call or a student's debts. And so it's kind of convoluted. It's been around for a long time. And you've probably seen some of the press releases out called shaming the student, shaming the lunch. And that's kind of a far cry from what it is, but what we do, we've got a fairly stringent practice that we do, but now the USDA has asked each school district to create a policy, and that policy has about 4 components to it. And those components are what you do to, how you extend credit, which we're really not supposed to, how you go about collecting the credit, and the relief that you provide the student or the family in what case. Ours is pretty comprehensive, what we do as a practice. And student debt arises from several ways. One, if they fail to get an application in and accrue debt as we try to get their application, their low-income application, up until that point, they have accrued debt where nobody's going to pay for the meal. The state's not going to pay for it, the federal government's going to pay for it, and we absorb it. The second one is with reduced students who don't pay the difference between reduced and the full price. We accrue that. And then students who just don't pay for meals. Many years ago, we addressed this as a board, and there was no action taken. A lot of districts have huge debt due to the lack of payment. So the USDA has made a policy that says that the district child nutrition program cannot service the debt of students who don't pay. And so that means that it can't come out of the child nutrition program, that has to come out of another program. All of this came about because of the huge debt nationwide for students not paying. There are so many different ways that you can qualify to pay. If a student's family or guardian doesn't choose to do that, then you have your own steps that you have to follow. On an average, here in Ponca City, we average anywhere from 15 to 17,000 each year of unpaid student debt. Our program has always absorbed that. And so in a $3.9 million budget, it's not huge, but it is a big part of it. And so now it has to become board policy. And so what I'm creating is a document of pretty much what we're doing and how it works. We're a lot more lenient here than other school districts. We don't shame the child, but we get to the point where we do, once they get to owing anything over $60 or $70, we start a process to collect from the family. What we have found is when we do the process, we have a magical way of collecting if you don't feed a child. It's amazing how that works. As harsh as it sounds, a lot of people say, you know, that's not fair, the child shouldn't go without, and they're right. And but this is with weeks and weeks of communicating with their family and trying to get a remedy. And sometimes the remedy is, from this point on, you're free, and then we'll just keep going. But many times we can't even get a response out of the family. And so our staff works hard. We have a budget that has not, in 20-some years, used any local funds. We've all been independent. We work really hard on that. And that's our hard work, that's our labor, that's what we do. We live or die by the chicken strip. And so that's our operating account. That's what we do. We provide a service in good faith. If they don't meet the criteria, we get no reimbursement at all, zero. And it's not hard to meet the criteria. It's just a lack of action by the family.
So Jeff, if a student's accumulated $60 of debt, how many meals are we talking about?
Oh, it just depends on if they're eating breakfast and lunch, but you know, a $2.25 meal, you know, that's months of eating without paying.
What percentage of these are we talking about, kids?
It's not a huge percentage, but it does add up. And, you know, there's a component out there called community eligibility, where you feed all your children, all your school students free, but we don't qualify for it in the way that we need to qualify. And so that seems to be the solution for everybody, but that's based on direct certification. Direct certification is being eligible for benefits, free benefits, or reduced benefits by participating in other assistance programs. And so our direct certification is about 42%. That our low income is about 70%. So that middle part is usually those folks right there. The kicker with direct certification is they take that percentage, and then so if we participate in community eligibility, last year I calculated we would have got $2.47 per meal. Right now we're getting $3.16. And so schools make it up because they pick up students. Well, we're feeding about 95% of our students, which is probably one of the highest in the nation. We're gaining those students by that. So that means we go from getting $3.16 from the federal government to $2.47, and that I calculated was a $420,000 loss for our program if we went to it. So that's why we don't participate in it. Now, you can have one site, maybe Lincoln or Liberty, that can participate in it. Then you run into other problems where they move from site to site, or one child goes to one school and another one goes to another. They get free lunch here that they don't here. So, and then I just was in a meeting with Oklahoma City schools, and they're in trouble over this because their numbers weren't right. So they're having to pay back some money. So we just, it's gonna go away, I've been told.
Robin called me this week or showed me something. We don't shame any kid.
We don't.
You don't stamp their arms lunch money.
We would never do that.
Okay,
And we would never do that. We do have taken trays.
Yeah,
And is that how you do it if they get over?
We get to the point where we contact, after 5 attempts of contacting the family with no response, even after the principal has responded. We get to that point where we send out a letter to the family saying, starting this effective day, your child will need to eat breakfast at home and bring a lunch. And it's amazing how when they have to do a day or two after that, that they will fill out an application or they will pay their
Do
debt.
they slide a card or something when they first go through, or how do your people know?
They punch in a number.
So if they punch in a number, they get a tray and go through,
Well, it has to be, and that's another problem, the USDA.
or do you stop them before they get the tray?
I wish we could stop them before, but the USDA requires that our person's at the end of the line to make sure that they have all the components of the meal. So we can't stop them before. So, and a lot of times they know we won't take away the tray, so there's no reason to do anything about it.
But you really don't take away that many trays?
Not that many. And it's asked after many, many times. Now, something real interesting is we did have a lot of debt at the high school, but they set up a table that if you're going to go to the prom, you need to pay all these, and it's not just us, it's your book, it's all the others. It's amazing how much, we collected over $5,000 in 1 week
Yeah.
from students that wanted to go to the prom that just didn't pay on their accounts. So, it's a big problem. Columbus, Ohio, theirs was almost 2 million that uncollected. They have a lot of debt, and their district's telling them, well, you absorb it. Well, you can't. So, I mean, we have, and we will continue to, and especially in the elementary level. When we get to the high school, it's a little bit different story. So, but we don't refuse very, very often. It's not without, I get a list every day of the cutoffs at the high school. It's about 15 students a day, but it's after quite a few conversations. Elementary is quite a process. I hate to do that, but at some point you've got to say, there's got to be some responsibility by the family to do the right thing. And there's other means. All you have to do is meet these means.
Is there no way that when they punch in their number, it can't pop up or something?
Oh, it does. It does
So,
pop up.
but you can't stop them from going through the
But
line?
it's at the end of the line. So they've already got their tray, and that's a USDA regulation. So it's
So
a
was something
big,
said to them at that time?
oh, it's been said quite a few. Now, elementary, you deal with the parent. You don't deal with, or the guardian. You don't deal with the student. On the secondary, you deal with the student. And you deal with the parent with letters too.
You know, obviously, when you read the newspaper article, you read that and you just, I mean, your initial reaction is, why, oh, that's horrible that we're doing this to students. But as Jeff mentioned, you're talking, at least in our case, and I'm sure there's always going to be exceptions. There's going to be some student that, you know, maybe the second time they didn't pay, we didn't feed them. But on average, as Jeff said, we're getting to $60 worth of debt. So that's a month worth of meals. And and if they're on reduced lunch prices, it's even more. Because the reduced, if I'm on reduced lunch, what do I pay?
40 cents.
I pay 40 cents. So you take 40 cents, divide it by $60, that tells you how many meals we're talking about. So obviously, you know, headlines get attention. And we've had some discussions. I mean, our principals want our kids to eat every day, and we had this, was it October, that the discussion came up about, you know, not feeding students lunch, and why can't we feed them, and or go ahead and feed them, give them a cheese sandwich, give them a bologna sandwich, give them something. You know, so again, but then you've got the situation that Jeff said, if he feeds a cheese sandwich, he's not meeting nutritional guidelines that are required by the federal government. And he gets
And they
written
may
up,
like cheese sandwiches, so it won't matter.
and he gets written up in an audit.
Yeah.
So, but we will develop a policy. You guys will, hopefully we'll have it available by the July board meeting so the board can approve it. And obviously, you'll have a chance to look at it at that time, ask Jeff some more questions. And the issue is, because I read through the guidelines the USDA sent out today, and they don't, you know, they're kind of like, I think, like the board is, we want kids to eat. But at the same time, they don't allow the child nutrition department to feed kids without somebody paying for it. Either they pay for it through filling out the application for a free lunch or a reduced lunch to at the price, or the students are supposed to pay for it. But again, Jeff can't legally pay that or claim them and then get reimbursed by the state for a meal that somebody's supposed to pay for when they didn't pay for it.
So I'm caught, either way, I'm caught. So, and I was part of this national committee that, I was the one no vote on the committee. I told the group with the, wanting this, I said, be careful what you ask for. You may not like what's happening, and now they're all going, well, we didn't mean for it to be like this.
Yeah.
Well, this is a perfect example of how the federal government said, okay, here's your problem, we've identified it, now it's your problem.
Yeah.
Now it's our problem, and then we're gonna look like the bad guy, because we're taking food away from kids. But there's a whole lot of activities in our school district that if you don't have your fees paid up, you don't participate. But this is what we do, and we provide that meal in good faith. So, and we're not out there with a big stick, and it pains us. And I know a lot, and myself, I've paid for a lot of meals. I know a lot of lunch ladies that have paid for a lot of meals out of their pocket, so the child won't go without. And so it's not something we take lightly. It's something that we put a lot of thought into, and it's something we spend a whole lot of time on, a whole lot, that we shouldn't have to. So it's just one of those things where the people says, I've had the parents call me and say, it's your problem. You feed my child, that's your problem. And I'm kind of like, okay, I'll pay for it, you know.
You said we lose 15,000?
It averages 15 to 17,000 a year. It's pretty normal. We've really tried to get aggressive this year in just contacting and everything. But yeah, that's about where it is every year.
And the other part of this is, you know, if you adopted a policy and you said, you know, child nutrition, we want you to feed every kid that goes to the line, and the district will just pick up the tab. We'll pay it out of general fund money. I'm not sure we legally can, but let's just say that we could. Then you run the risk of encouraging people not to pay what they owe. And again, look at the prices. I mean, for a full price lunch at the elementary sites next year, it's going to be $2.35. Now, you always have the option to bring your lunch. We don't prohibit that. If students want to do that, they can bring their lunch. Jeff, when we look at when you get to this point and somebody owes you $60, is it generally that we solve this by them completing the application process and they qualify for free lunch, or is it typically end up paying you for the lunch?
It's a combination of both.
Okay.
We get, on the high school, it's not usually a qualification thing. It's I don't want to pay thing. And then, or child charges up a lot of meals with the parents, without the parents' knowledge. And so that's why we have such a good system where you can go online and see your child's balance. You know exactly what they're charging and what they're getting. And then it's a lot of it is a reduced, you know, they're just, you know, maybe it's a family of four, and that's why I've always been hardline on this, not making these increases anymore, and we have to, because if you don't, if you have reduced and you have family of four, then it's a pretty large bill each month that you have to pay, because if you qualify for reduce, your income's not that high. And it's based on household income and family size and how many are in the household. And so, and there might be some who don't want to come in and apply because they're afraid that might be a problem with them staying in the country.
Well, but here's the deal also. When you go and enroll your child at school, there's a table that's for
Right.
free. Okay, so some people may be embarrassed to do it that way. Is there not another way to approach that, like when we're doing it on the computer?
I can go online.
No, as like when we're not doing downtown enrollment, are we this year?
Yeah.
We are? I mean, is there a way to get that on the computer when they're doing it so it's
It's on.
not shameful? It is on there? So that,
Yeah.
what's the table for then?
Yeah, we have it online. You can go online and apply.
At that point when you enroll? Okay, maybe that's a way, or maybe we should
Yeah.
have someone,
Well,
go
and
hard at it.
We even staff it. So we'll sit there with you to help you fill it out. And the great thing about that app is it won't let you, with this new thing we just added in January, it won't let you complete the app. It won't let you walk away from it until you've completed the app. And the one before, you could walk away from it and then we had to go find you.
Okay,
to get you to complete the app.
okay.
So,
So
yeah,
we-
we have that. We have the paper app too, and we have the on the line, and you have direct certification, and you've got all these other ways that you can qualify if you do it.
So each kid is assigned a number?
They have their student ID number in there.
I mean, that's
But it's based on household. So the guardian is the main one, and the students are in the.
But
guardian.
elementary doesn't have that, do they?
They do have a student ID number, yes.
But they don't put their own number in.
No,
No,
Mr. Ba-
no, they do a
the lunch
class
lady,
list.
yeah.
They did how?
Like
Class
Miss
list.
Daly, Barbie Daly puts it in, she'll note it that they went through.
They
Yeah,
get paid, I'm lost here. Do they get paid at the end of the month for the meals, or do they pay each day they come in?
No, you pay monthly.
they pay. Elementary pays monthly and secondary pays as you go, or you can put money on your account. There's so many ways. You can pay online, you can pay by ACH, you can pay all different ways if you want. It's not a matter of convenience or anything like that. It's just a matter of not wanting to. And, and I do get parents that say, you let them charge, it's your problem. And we're letting them charge because we get the same amount of parents. When we don't let them charge, call us and say, why didn't you let them charge? So we're caught.
Most is lunch though, not breakfast, probably.
Most of it's lunch, yeah. But we still continue to feed most of them. It has to be a big, big notice. And at the elementary, the principal's involved and they know that that's coming along. So,
Yeah, I was kind of the one that brought this conversation up, and I don't have a problem with what you're doing with the parents, the hardball. I just wanted to make sure that kids
Right.
weren't embarrassed among their peers.
Right.
And play hardball as hard as you need to with the parents.
we wouldn't. And especially, I'm not that, the elementary ones really, they don't have the communication skills to understand.
Right.
The secondary do, but you would be amazed at their creativity to get a meal on the secondary level.
Well, it's kind of interesting because, as Robin mentioned, he asked, when would the tray be taken away? And because one of the things in the federal guidelines that they suggested was that we have a way to check students before they go through the line, that way, so they're turned away at the beginning, not at the end. But as you said,
their
you're
guideline.
responsible
Yeah.
to see that an adult checks to make sure that they got the food they're supposed to get.
Right.
Otherwise, it's not a qualified meal for reimbursement purposes. So to do what they want us to do, which is to check here,
And then
but still
check
have an
again.
adult down here, you're going to have to hire more staff to do that.
And our staff has tender hearts.
Oh, yeah.
And in fact, I had to move someone at the high school because they wouldn't cut students off on the list. And they said, I'm not going to. And I said, well, good, you'll be a server. So, because you're not helping any. Because all the kids are getting in the line that owe money. So, you kind of have to watch to see how we do it. And when I present this next month or the following month, you'll see how extensive we work with the families and the sites and how much time it takes. But I'm really concerned about that being a policy. I really am. It's not something I'm looking forward to because we will be audited on that. And that means no charging.
While we have it, is it okay, can you give us a quick shot on, with the Washington administrative changes? I know a year or two ago, you brought us trays and said, here's what you're having to feed them. Do you see changes coming on what we can do and finally give them a meal that's
Right.
acceptable versus
I-
government approved?
They're looking at the sodium levels. That's one of the big things. And what they've had, and this is the only way I can describe it right now, it's a stay of execution for the program because it had 3 tiers and maybe 4 in some areas where we progressively limited the sodium and the calories and the whole grains in 3 to 4 stages. And now they've stopped it at 1 stage. And so in June, I have a meeting with the Secretary of Agriculture, with Sonny Perdue, to sit down, and there's a small group of 8 of us. They're going to sit down with him and go through what we're recommending. And so it's kind of a hodgepodge, but we really believe there's 2 areas that need to be rolled back for sure, and it's the sodium levels, which need to We need to stop them and raise them up with acceptable area in the whole grains. And then the fruits and vegetable servings for the smaller grades. A cup is a lot for a kindergarten student. And so we need to roll those back, and if we do those, it'll help us build back participation again. Now, it is regulated by the Farm Bill, and this is reauthorized by the House and the Senate, and we've been on a continuing resolution for the past 3 years. And so they're trying to author a bill, and that's why I'm going up there, to get it by the end of September so we can have a revised bill. And so, but it's a $900 billion program that has lost 2 million participants a day for the past 2 years. So it's really getting hurt, and that's why they started the community eligibility. So if we can roll those back and get a little bit more flexibility, I'm pushing for nutrient-based menus, which looks like the scope of the menu, not the components. I think that schools will get more participation, and then that way you can serve a more culturally diverse meal than what we can now, because we can't now, because it doesn't qualify. So there's a lot of workings in the details, and I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to make it work for us. So I know that's probably more information you want to know, but yes, do I see it? Yeah. Is it going to be a fight? Yes, it's going to be a fight.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
We have a first and second.
Yeah, was that on 6-3, honey?
We have to vote.
6-3.
Okay, it's time to vote.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Item 6-4, consideration of and vote to approve or not approve library deregulation packet for Liberty and Woodlands Elementary Libraries for 217, 218 through 219, 220 school years. Anybody want to talk about that?
We did this last year, didn't we?
We did it at different
Wait.
sites. We've had our librarian got a clock today that serves Woodlands and Liberty. And, and so,
Okay.
and so instead of hiring back a librarian to serve those two sites, we're going to go with aides that will be at the site full-time. And so we will have a full-time elementary librarian at what site, Shelley?
Lincoln, and then we split between Roosevelt and Hartfield.
Okay, so those two librarians then will supervise the librarians at the other sites, meet with them, do book purchasing, those kinds of things.
Any other discussion? Do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept 6.4.
Motion's been made.
Second.
All right, then we'll vote.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
6-5, consideration of and vote to approve or not approve the following contract agreements. A, renewal of agreement with Burnett Security and Investigation for security at the Ponca City High School for 17-18 school year. B, renewal of the contract with Burnett Security and Investigation for courier service for 217-218 school year. C, agreement with Burnett Security and Investigation for security services at new Ponca City High School temporary parking lot. D, arrangement with Lewis and Associate Architect for architectural service for FY18. E, agreement with Engage 21 Learn, which provides training and coaching for continuing implementation and growth in the Engage 2 Learn. Jesus. F,
That's why you got so many papers to sign when today's over.
Yeah. I wasn't sorry to
agreement
pass
with
those on.
Gary Bracken, attorney at law, for his engagement as attorney for the district. G, renewal of agreement with Pinnacle Business Service for Pearl, advancement, management, and support. H, agreement with Learning Science International for observation renewal. I, agreement with Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development for on-site professional learning. And J, agreement with Frontline Education for management of absence and substitute and time and attendance for 217, 218. Well, I have one, if we're gonna have discussion, and Rob and I were talking about,
Get your motion first.
oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Motion in a second.
I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve these contracts.
All right, motion's been made, is there a second?
I'll go ahead and second it.
Thank you. Now we'll have discussion. I had one, and Rob and I talked about this the other day, on the parking lot at the high school, on the gravel parking lot. At this time, I go by there every day, I've seen one truck there, and we're gonna pay a guy $11,000 a year, if that's what our figures were, Robin, to supervise
16.
that parking lot.
But I think there's going to be people in it next year. This is really for next school year, isn't it?
What construction looked like it was going to happen sooner than it has right now, and Rick Scott Construction has chosen to forego the beginning of the weight training facility so we can have graduation and still have that full lot. So they're accommodating us by postponing the construction just a few more weeks. Otherwise, we would have lost that entire area where the weight training facility was going to go, and those students would have been parked up north. They haven't
Okay.
been yet.
Okay, but you have, here's, we've talked about this. You have two on that school lot. No, on the one regularly now.
Just one.
Okay, that's gonna cut in half. So why not send one of those two up there? Why do we have to employ another person?
Yeah. We have one on the student lot. The other security guard is watching the front door, checking in people. He's not on the student lot. So this person is watching the north end and circling the neighborhoods, seeing if he can find kids that are parking off street, on street, off lot. So
Okay.
those two are watching the two parking lot areas. The other one is inside the building, checking people in the front door.
The front door
Be
is
in
in
the
the
west
front of
side?
the parking lot or the front of the school?
The front of the
When you
school,
come in the school.
inside the new entrance.
So what does a police officer do? Don't we have a police officer?
Yeah, he's a security, he's not a security officer, he's an SRO that roams the campus, and he's got his own office, and he works with administration.
Okay.
So lobby guard has a security, a brunette person there by lobby guard,
That's correct.
all day.
You talking about on the west side of the school?
Yeah.
Yes.
Fifth Street
Main
entrance.
entrance. where
Okay,
the
and then
kids
you have
come.
two in that building right now?
There's one, yeah, there's
Yeah.
an SRO, which is a police officer, and then there's a security guard who is in that little office checking people in and out with lobby guard. And a third one, it's just a second security guard that's on the lot.
I was
On
wrong,
the
David.
lot right now, there's one person? Why do I always see two there?
There's only one there, unless he's on break and there's coming in and out.
Okay.
But I only hire two, and one's the front office and one's the
And
lobby.
so now we're gonna have the third to help split in the lot. Okay, that was my question. And that's 11,000?
Yeah, approximately 16,000 if he's there every student contact day, up until the point that we don't need him anymore for that lot.
Where's he gonna be on that lot? What's he gonna do? They're gonna put up a building or something?
No, he's just gonna be there in his truck, monitoring those cars, and then while the kids are in class, there's nobody there, he's gonna roam around the neighborhood, see if he can catch them parking off the side,
Okay.
because that happens quite often. So he'll keep an eye on that lot and survey the neighborhood at the same time.
Okay. That answer your questions? Okay, any other, all these things, is there any other thing we need to discuss on all these items? Okay, then it's time to vote.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye. Okay. 6.6, consideration of and vote to approve or not approve change order number 1 for the new press box for Sullivan Stadium in the amount of $20,374.38. You want to talk about that?
It's kind of a long story, but I'll make it short as I possibly can. When we were doing the restroom addition there to the Sullivan Stadium, we wanted to connect the HVAC units to those facilities to our energy management system. And it went way over budget. We didn't do it. We thought, well, we've got another shot at it, so when we do the press box, we can do the press box and the restroom at the same time, hooking it up to our infrastructure system with our internet that attaches to our energy management system out at the maintenance department. Okay, so as you know, the press box also had a pretty good price tag to it, and we didn't get that included. But it needs to be included in this process so we can monitor the HVAC system in that whole area. It comes out of the Robson Fieldhouse, or will come out of the Robson Fieldhouse. All the other buildings underneath it, the dressing rooms, the football dressing room, the weight training facility are all connected. These need to be connected as well. It allows our maintenance department to monitor the system, adjust set points, turn things off and on, scheduling, those kinds of things. So that's what we're asking. The first time it was estimated just for the restrooms, it was about $23,000. This one is $20,000 and we get all three facilities. So it ended up a little cheaper. Don't ask me how that happened, but we're glad it did.
Is Robinson included in this, or are they already on it?
It's already on it.
So this is the restrooms and Sullins.
And yes, press box. The rest of it underneath is also connected. It's just those areas right there never did get connected.
So you said three. What's the third one?
Well, both restrooms. I'm sorry, there's two
Okay.
sets of restrooms and the press box.
Okay, we need a motion.
Move to approve 6-6.
I'll second.
All right, then we'll vote.
Mrs. Troop? Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Consideration of a vote to approve or not approve the amended Ponca City School District calendar for 17-18 school year.
You remember last year that we did this in May, and we reduced the school calendar by 6 days. This year, we're recommending we reduce the school calendar by 5 days. So it'll be 5 less days for students, but staff will continue to work the full 185-day calendar. The reason we're doing 5 instead of 6 is because when we went to hours, by just doing 6, by eliminating 6 days, because of the way we do the schedule at the kindergarten or the pre-K center, we almost didn't have enough hours for them to modify their schedule, to be on the same schedule everybody else is. So we're just adding that 1 day back. And that way we'll be I won't say well above the 1,080 hours, but we'll be above the 1,080 hours at every site without having to add 5 minutes here or do something like that.
Does this actually change the calendars that we approved, though? Or are you just
It
doing
does. It
stuff
doesn't
with the
change
date?
the start date or the end date,
Okay.
Judy. It just changes days within the calendar,
Okay.
just like we did this year. Same
Okay.
thing we did this year.
Motion?
I'll make a motion for 6-7.
A second, please.
I'll second it.
Then we'll vote.
Question.
Oh, I got a question.
I got a couple questions. Why did we approve in February and now make a change? Because, I mean, there's people that have set vacations and whatnot, 3-day weekends, et cetera, based on what we've already told them.
Yeah, well, this isn't gonna, I mean, they're not gonna be going to any to school any days that were not a part.
Oh, it's the other way. They'll be off now 5 additional days, correct?
Right.
That were not available in February.
Right, that's correct.
Okay. So, I mean,
Well, because, Robin, we do the calendar in February,
But
and that's kind of
should
the
we just wait till
tradition.
May and do it and then
We
include all
could,
this in
and
one?
in the future, we could do that.
I mean,
that's fine with me.
I don't have a problem doing this. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a good idea what we're doing.
Yeah. I
That'd
don't,
be one question, instead of publishing a calendar and then making a change to it. And then the other question I have, and Shelley, you probably have to answer this, because I'm sure I'll get a call tomorrow. What are the 5 additional days? I can't tell which were the 3 original and which are the 5 new ones.
September 18th,
Okay?
November 10th, February 19th, March 16th, April 30th. Original PD days were August 10th, October 9th, and January 15th.
I think I wrote as fast as you talked. April 30th?
I'll give you a copy of
Oh,
this.
no, that's all I need, if it was the 30th.
April 30th.
Okay, yeah, I don't have a problem doing it, it's just, Okay.
Any other discussion? Then we had a motion? We'll vote.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid? Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
6A, consideration of vote to approve or not approve a proposed executive session for the following purpose: discuss the employment of assistant principals, possible terminations, reassignments, resignations, and employment of personnel on the attached detailed personnel report. To discuss confidential conversations with the board's attorney concerning pending claims and litigation. Do we need an executive session?
Yeah.
Okay. Then we need a motion to adjourn for an executive session.
I move to adjourn to executive session.
Do a second, please?
I'll second it.
All right, we will adjourn for executive session. Oh, gosh, forgot about. Sorry.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
Mr. Riley? Mrs. Troop? Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
We're going to return to open session. Recited by the board president, minutes of the executive session were kept by the board minutes clerk and will remain confidential. 611, we're going to vote to approve or not approve renewal of the following assistant principals for the 2017-18 school year: Kevin LaRue, Denton Long, Don Mills, Trenton Murner, and Christina
Walt.
Move to approve 611.
Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Then we'll vote.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye. 612, vote to approve or not approve recommendation for termination, reassignment, resignation, employment of personnel.
Move to approve 612.
Second, please.
I'll go ahead and second it.
Any discussion? Then we'll vote.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
New business?
Yes, I have 3 personnel recommendations. These are individuals that we've offered employment to and they accepted after the agenda was published. Keenan Curry as a health and then computer applications teacher at Poe High, and also to serve as the high school boys basketball coach. Graham Snelding, PE at Roosevelt, and coaching duties, assistant football and fall or spring sport to be determined later. And then Chelsea Swearingen, second grade at Liberty.
Move to approve
Okay,
the
motion.
3 recommendations by Dr. Pennington.
Second, please.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? We'll vote.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Item 8, motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor? Say aye.
Second.
Aye.
Second it, Jan. Keep you honest.
Okay, we are adjourned.